Hey guys, welcome to Unbiased Rugby. Today we're going to talk about week 17 of Super Rugby, the actual results, and then after that I'll do week 18, the preview show for the following weekend. I have to be fairly honest, I think I'm having a bit of rugby fatigue. This last weekend I really battled to watch any of the games. There's just a lot happening, and I don't know, it's been quite a long season. I think I started really getting in, really watching games every weekend from last year, Rugby Championship. So, and I've watched Pro 14 and the Viva Premiership and European, and so yeah, it's getting quite tiring. But so I just think I needed a weekend to relax. So I basically watched most of the highlights. Some of the games I did get to watch some of the halves because they seemed very, very impressive. But from my Super Brews side of things, I didn't do that well. I actually only predicted 3 out of the 4, but the one game I got a bonus point and a match point, so it made up for it. So I think I finished in my Super Brew for the round for the week probably about in the top third, which is pretty good. I'm still at the bottom of the board overall for my group. So. But yeah, let me go through the scores. I'll give a quick rundown of the games, and then we'll talk about the next week. And then I just want to talk about the tables just a little bit. So the scores from the last weekend, we had the Blues 39 to the Red 16. I had predicted that the Blues would win. So finally the Blues have a home victory this season. The Blues have no chance of making the playoffs, and let's see. I'm hoping that they can continue this winning ways going into the following weekend. The next game of the weekend was the Rebels versus the Waratahs. And this was the battle for the top of the Australian Conference. Obviously, the Waratahs took that, and with the Rebels having a bye week in the following week, it can be quite detrimental to the Rebels. Next game, the Highlanders versus the Chiefs. I did watch the first half of this game, and I thought we'd end up with a score of like 100-0. Because that was probably the most impressive performance of any team for 40 minutes I've seen in Super Rugby this entire year. It was an absolute masterclass in rugby. But we took the Chiefs at the end, 45-22, and it sounds a lot closer to that. But if the game had finished at halfway, it would have been 42-0, which was credit to the Highlanders for actually coming back, because that was a real masterclass in rugby. Next game was the Brumbies versus the Hurricanes. Brumbies 24-12. I predicted the Hurricanes would win, but obviously the Brumbies took it. Brumbies are doing fairly well. I think they've 3 victories in a row. Seriously impressive. The Hurricanes 3 victories, 3 losses in a row, which is not good at all. And they were my team to win, but they didn't do that well this last weekend. Next game was Sunwolves versus the Bulls, 42-37 to the Sunwolves. No, I'm not taking any away from the Sunwolves, but the Bulls, I don't know what it seems like they threw that game away. They had every opportunity to finish off that game, and they just didn't do it. So very disappointing, but. Congratulations to the Sunwolves. Next game, Sharks versus the Lions. Sharks took it 31-24. Same deal here. The Lions have really made it difficult for themselves to finish top of the log. They're even finding it difficult to actually come second in the overall standing. So I don't know what happened there, but the Sharks were a lot hungrier in the second half, and they deserved that victory. I did watch that game, so the Lions, they had every single opportunity to finish that game off. And what's also a little bit frustrating is obviously we had Malcolm Marx and Warren Whiteley coming back, and obviously their decision making is a bit rusty, so they need game time, and now they're on a bye. So this following week's a bye, and they actually need game time to get back up to speed before we get up to the playoffs. But yeah, so it's not looking very good for the Lions. Look, they'll make the playoffs, but I just think they're really making it difficult for themselves. The last game of the weekend was the Jaguares versus the Stormers. Stormers continue their losing ways. Congratulations to the Jaguares for taking that victory, but 25-14. The Jaguares have got standing a really, really good chance of actually taking the African Conference. Which is very, very good for them. It means whoever team has to play them and actually have to travel all the way to South America, which is very, very difficult. So, yeah, they're in a really, really good position. But let's talk about this coming week. Okay, so I just have to scroll down the page to get through all the scores. So the first game of the weekend, we've got the Crusaders versus the Highlanders. I've put the Crusaders by 10. There's nothing that can happen to take the Crusaders off the top spot. That's it. They've done it. They've if they make it all the way to the finals, they have home semi-final, home final, home everything. So the Crusaders are in a really, really good position to take the whole tournament again. And if you're a betting man, you wouldn't bet against them. Against the Highlanders, are coming off a loss. And they're playing at Christchurch. Yeah, I think it's the Crusaders by 10. Next game of the weekend, we've got the Reds versus the Rebels. I put the Reds by 4. Not for any other reason, is I really need the Rebels to lose, so as the one of the other teams can hopefully come through. Like I said, not a bad reflection on the Rebels, but I've put the Reds by 4 to win that game. Even though the Rebels have lost their last 5 games, the Reds have lost their last 5 games. The Rebels lost their last one, but let's see what happens. If the Reds win that game, they'll be doing the South African sides a real big favour. If the Rebels win that game, then they're back neck and neck. Actually, I'm looking at the wrong thing. I thought the Rebels had a bye. Oh, no, maybe I was wrong. Sorry, the Rebels don't have a bye this week. Maybe it's the last week that the Rebels have a bye. Next game of the weekend, I've got the Chiefs versus the Brumbies. I've put the Chiefs by 12, even though the Chiefs have had they've had a win-loss. Last one was a win, so according to the statistics, they should have a loss. The Brumbies have won their last 3, but I still think the Chiefs at home are going to be just too strong for the Brumbies, so I've put the Chiefs by 12. Next game of the weekend, I've got the Hurricanes versus the Blues. The Hurricanes also coming off a 3-week loss, and the Blues won last week, but I still think the Hurricanes are going to take this by 7, so I've put the Hurricanes by 7. Next game, we've got the Waratahs versus the Sunwolves. Look, I've put the Waratahs by 4. I think the Sunwolves are a really good attacking side, and they know how to attack, but they also bleed a lot of points. So I think I've put the Waratahs by 4, especially at home. Excuse me. So, but yeah, it would be nice to have the Sunwolves have a victory. If the Sunwolves have a victory and the Reds don't, they could be off that bottom spot, which would be great for the Sunwolves. Next game of the weekend, the Vodacom Bulls versus the Jaguares. The Vodacom Bulls in the last 7 games, it's been 5 losses. Jaguares, the last 7 games, 7 wins. So, but I've put the Bulls by 10, playing at altitude at Loftus. The Jaguares really have to pull something out of the bag to win that. I think they're going to find it fairly difficult because I know they play really well away from home this season, but I think at altitude they might come a little bit unstuck. So yeah, I've got the Bulls by 10. Next game of the weekend, we've got the Stormers versus the Sharks. The Sharks do have a real outside chance of actually getting into the playoffs, which would be great. The Sharks won their last game, so they're on a bit of a high, and the Stormers are 4 games in a row of losses. So from a complete South African point of view, to try and get more teams into the actual quarterfinals, I'd love to see the Sharks by 7. But those are my predictions for the week. So I've just got the tables in front of us. So if the Waratahs win this weekend, because the Lions are on a bye, they'll overtake the Lions into second spot, which means if the Waratahs continue winning their ways through the thing, they'll obviously have a home semi if they win their quarters, which would be great for them. Look, the Lions won't be knocked out. It's almost statistically impossible for them. Well, maybe they can be. No, I really, really doubt it. It's, something really drastic would have to happen. Really, really drastic. Look, they could be pushed quite far down because if the Jaguares win their game, they're going to overtake the Lions. So in a perfect world, I'd like the Rebels to lose. And the Sharks to win, so the Sharks get into that spot. I'd love the Jaguares to lose, so the Lions don't lose their top spot. So yeah, there's a lot happening in that African conference. But I'm looking here up to about 10th spot. I think the Brumbies still have an outside chance of making it. I think they're on 29 points. Yeah, Yeah, and I think we're looking forward to an interesting weekend of rugby. I think it's only the Lions that are on a bye, and the following week it's the Rebels. So, because if I'm looking here, the Stormers are. I think the Stormers and the Lions. Yeah, the Stormers must be. Yeah, because looking at all these games, most of the teams have a game in hand except the Lions and the Stormers. So yeah. So yes, I think it's going to be a great weekend 18 of Super Rugby. The game I'm looking forward to the most, which I think would probably be the most entertaining, I think the Sharks Stormers game is going to be pretty good. The Bulls Jaguares game, obviously from a personal point of view, I think it would be pretty good. Hurricanes Blues, I think that could be very, very good. And the Crusaders Highlanders. So obviously the real New Zealand derbies are going to be excellent, and I think the Sharks Stormers game is going to be very, very good. But that's it, guys. That's my show for this week, and just please write down your predictions down at the bottom, who you think is going to win the game, and I hope you guys have a great rest of the week and a